Good evening, ma'am.
Yeah, good evening. Hi.
Hello, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your patience. Uh,
Fine.
so, hello, everyone. Good evening. So, my name is Shamli Chauhan, and today I'm honored to introduce one of our, renowned, I would say, one of a very important personality, Suparna Tandon, ma'am. She is currently working as a uh, Chief General Manager at NABARD, as well as she is Chief Risk Officer. So, first of all, I welcome you, ma'am, to EduTap, and thank you so much for taking out time for this discussion.
That's fine. It's always a pleasure to talk to young people, and yeah, I mean, this is not a teaching lesson, but I do like to interact and share whatever little I can with everyone.
That's nice to hear, ma'am, from you. So, everyone, I would like to tell you that ma'am has joined NABARD in 1988 as a NABARD Grade A officer, and currently she is working as a CGM. Okay, so I know that is in itself is quite inspiring, and I know with that, hearing that, you all eagerly wanted to know ma'am's journey and experiences with NABARD. So let's ask ma'am. And ma'am, please tell us about your experience and your journey with NABARD so that all the aspirants can get motivated from your journey.
Okay, thank you so much. First of all, thanks, Upasana. I just saw your comment. It's nice to be able to talk to people who are wanting to join NABARD. So if you want to know about my experience with NABARD, I'll try to give a small parallel to the Maslow needs hierarchy. I mean, all of you who have any background of psychology or human resources, HR, you will know that that's one of the very, very popular theories, motivational theories, which basically says that, a person derives satisfaction on a 5 level hierarchy of 5 levels, so which means physiological needs, security needs, and then going right up to the self-esteem and the self-actualization needs, which basically means what I'm trying to tell you is that NABARD, if you work in NABARD and if you stick on with NABARD, then NABARD doesn't just take care of the food, shelter, clothing, the basic physiological aspects or the security aspect, how safe you feel, but also the community, the kind of community that you get, when you are in NABARD. It's a very small, tightly knit community where each person looks out for the other. But also it helps you really look at creative and value-based things. So it sort of takes care of all your needs, motivational needs on the spectrum. Now, if I coming to my journey in NABARD has been really, really enriching. And this is one organization which has helped me work or allowed me the space to work right across the country. It has helped me work in the commercial or the business aspect. So I started with upraising large agriculture projects like those large market yards projects or infrastructure projects. Then from there, I had a long assignment in the training college, so where I used to deal with participants, take sessions and things like that. Then I have worked in the developmental side, which is basically what NABARD is known for, so dealing with rural people, tribal communities, marginalized communities, people at the bottom of the pyramid. And you meet with various stakeholders, right? From the people to the NGOs, to the banks, to the state government, to Niti Aayog. So it's a huge imprint, and you're allowed to leave your imprint. So you are actually formulating projects for people and helping them, achieve certain targets, socioeconomic empowerment. And then I'm in the policy section. So I have literally had a 360-degree view of NABARD, and I think this is only one organization which helps you deal with all aspects of functioning of any DIF. It's the biggest India financial institution. If you see, the balance sheet size is 8 lakh crore as on 31st March. Where on earth are you going to get the chance in India to work in a AIFI which is that large, and where the terms and conditions of working are so comfortable? It is so safe for women to work. And most importantly, which I want to stress, value systems. If you remember the top part of the pyramid, this is, openly, if you go to any state government or central government, they'll say NABARD is the only organization, I can tell you with clarity, not one of the only organization where there is transparency and there is no corruption, where merit is rewarded. So you can have a chairman, if you join as a grade A, you have a shot at the chairman of NABARD. So you don't even have to settle below that. You can be the deputy managing director or the chairman of NABARD if you persistently, consistently perform and do your duties. You have a shot. We have had people who've joined NABARD in the way you are thinking of joining NABARD, and you've risen to become chairman or DMDs. So that's the kind of scope that you have. And as far as I am concerned, in fact, when I was doing my MBA in Nursing Monji a few years back, generally what we were told is anybody from NABARD, they would have something good to say about every subject. Whereas people from other banks, they will be an expert, say, in treasury, or they will be an expert in risk, or they will be an expert in projects, but they will not be an expert in all three. So that's the kind of career path and the huge satisfaction, the kind of pride at serving the country that one can get, if you work in NABARD. I think
Thank you.
I don't need to say more than this. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. It means that once you enter NABARD, the opportunity is immense for you to explore, right? Ma'am, with that, now we will take the general query of students that they often, have, and they wanted to, want some authentic source for that. I don't think आपसे ज्यादा और कोई authentic source उनके पास अभी होगा. So for that, I wanted to ask the very first and very general query of students that they often ask is, what is a job profile of a grade A officer? Because they are giving the exam of a grade A officer, and as well as they will enter the NABARD as a grade A officer, so what they will have to do at first?
Okay, that's a very good and a very, very pertinent question. So it all depends on where you're posted. You can get posted in a regional office, which is always a state capital, or you can get posted in head office, that is in Mumbai. So depending on where you're posted, your job profile will depend on that. So NABARD, we have certain, if you see the vision of NABARD, the work is divided into three parts mainly. One is the pure business function. So if you get posted in a business department, if you're in the head office, you might actually prepare the policy or the product for NABARD, which is a big thing. If you are in the regional office, you might actually be facing the clients and marketing your products. And when you get the business proposal, then you might actually sit down and appraise it, find out whether it's eligible or not, and whether we should give the loan or not. So that's a business. And you will also be required to interact with the clients, talk to their board members, talk to the promoter, do a kind of due diligence. So that's the business part. The second important vertical is the developmental part, where in both farm sector and off-farm sector or microfinance, where we have a lot of credit plus initiatives. What are credit plus initiatives? It basically means that, basically what's the DFI? I mean, why do you need an organization like NABARD? Simply because commercial banks will not deal with certain categories of clients, like say a poor farmer, or let's say a woman entrepreneur, even though they may be better in terms of repayment, simply because of the kind of buyers that commercial bankers have. So we have a lot of engagement with commercial bankers or the cooperative banks. We do a lot of training for them, or we try to empower the rural communities through natural resources management programs. We do training programs for them. We have projects for them for 5 years, which helps them improve their standards of living. So that's the developmental part. And let me tell you, this is one organization which uses its entire profits after taking care of all its costs in doing this kind of impact related work for the marginal communities. I think we'll have to request people to stop asking questions in between. It is slightly disturbing. I will answer all your questions. I think I will request someone from your organization to collate these questions. Otherwise, I'm getting a bit distracted. Yeah, I will urge the participants to stop asking about where you can stay and whether you get a transfer. That's part of the thing I will cover later, service conditions. Right now, I think you need to understand the organization. We talked about Maslow needs hierarchy. So motivation comes not just from salary and staff quarters, but a lot of it's the quality of the job that you do, right? So that's the second part, which is a very large part. And there we work with the government, central governments, we work with Niti Aayog, we work with different ministries. Second part. And the third part, because we are the supervisor for the rural banks, the regional rural banks and cooperative banks, on behalf of RBI, we do the inspection. So there's a lot of nurturing of rural institutions. We help them build their business models. We are on their boards. So as a middle level officer, this kind of exposure you may not get anywhere else, perhaps only in RBI. As a middle level officer, you get a chance to be on the board of a bank. You will attend board meetings. So right now, NABARD is doing one of the biggest projects in the world, that is computerization of each of the primary agricultural cooperative societies. We are building the largest, grain bank in the world, not just in India. So these kind of big ticket projects, which are very high on the Government of India's agenda, they are given only to NABARD because the Government of India has faith that NABARD can deliver, and we do deliver every time. So that's the kind of work as a grade A officer itself you will be taught to do on the job. So the sky is the limit.
Okay, so students, see, for preparation part, we study this current affair ki there is a computerization of packs happening. But if you will enter as a NABARD grade officer, so you will have to do that thing. You will have to pick such projects. So that's very insightful, ma'am. As well as I request all of students to, for now, can we just have a hold on queries, and once the session is over, and at that time, if you find that any query is not answered, then we can take your queries. So it's a kind request, please. So with that, ma'am, I wanted to ask regarding, like, you have also worked with various departments. So how these departments are allocated to grade A officer, and do the grade A officer have a choice that they can have they can choose the department according to their choice or preferability? So is there something like that?
Okay, so see, we are talking right now of the entry level, but the choice of department will be a continuous process. So generally at the entry level, what happens is we will go by the past experience. If NABARD is a second or third job, or we will go by the background, the educational qualification, and that is what happens in most organizations. Uh, and in NABARD, what we have is we have job families, so we have departments where the functions are related to each other. So for instance, if somebody, I was going through the advertisement just before this. So if somebody is let's say a civil engineer, he can be posted in those 2 or 3 departments where his skills will be required in appraisal. So maybe a large irrigation project is there, or maybe there's a large roadways infrastructure project of say 20,000 crore or 10,000 crore or 5,000 crore. So as a civil engineer, he may be asked to do the appraisal or do the monitoring. If there is a CA, for instance, I also saw that CA is one of the qualifications. So maybe he can get posted in the finance department, or he can come to risk management, or he can even go to the business department. So the first thing that is going to be taken care of is that, like, what is the background? What is the experience? If somebody has worked in an IT company, he may end up in one of the IT facing departments. Having said that, you may also find a second or third choice. So for instance, there depends on the vacancies, right? So if I have vacancies I have vacancies, 2 vacancies in finance department, and I have 4 CAs. So obviously the 2 CAs will go to finance and 2 others will get accommodated somewhere. But more or less, what I find is candidates are posted either according to the first or the second priority. So it doesn't happen that somebody is posted absolutely somewhere, in the wilderness, not related to him. Then after that, what happens is there is a rotation scheme. What I said is I have worked in most of the departments in NABARD. So every few years, a chance is given to the officer to change his department. At that point of time, the officer mostly gets what department he wants to go to. So that's how
Okay.
it is.
Okay,
Yeah.
so means that's with that, it is clear that you can change your department if you like so, and
Yeah.
if you want to work with some other department, so with time you can just go and explore other departments as well.
I have myself requested, and more than one occasion, I have myself requested, and I have got postings that I have wanted to. Yeah.
Okay. Ma'am, and once entered the NABARD, so what is the posting? Means how the posting is decided for a candidate, and especially is there any provision, special provision for girls candidates? Is the posting means given as per the as per,
I can tell you that the policy in NABARD for the HR policy in NABARD is very, very balanced. So it is not that if you belong to Jammu, you'll be posted to Trivandrum. So more or less, while it is not possible for the HR to take into account 100% of the needs, because you might have 15 people selected from, say, the northern region, but uh, the vacancies in the northern region may not be 15, there'll be 12, right? Again, it's always like that. So as far as possible, initially the candidates may be given their somewhere around their home center. Never they will The first posting will never be the place of domicile, let me be clear, but it'll be somewhere close. Of every batch, some very good candidates are picked for head office Mumbai. So if you've done excellently well in the written and the interview process, you might just get picked up for head office, because some very good people, they are required in head office also. For lady candidates, NABARD has, I cannot tell you because these are all confidential policies, but let me tell you that to the extent possible, lady candidates' requirements are considered. If something, suppose you're posted to some, place, and there is an absolutely very dire circumstance, then I'm sure, the HRMD will be convinced to do something. But overall, lady candidates are treated with a lot of, you know, I will not say preferential treatment, but some special consideration is given to lady officers when they join NABARD. So it's one of the preferred places of working in NABARD. It's simply because the working conditions are very, very conducive.
Ma'am, you said that the few best candidates are picked for head office. So is there any advantage, if you get picked up for the head office?
No, few of the best. I didn't say all the best. It doesn't mean the others are not good. So
Yeah.
because what happens is, in head office, it's like policy making. You might be working in the treasury. In the regional offices, you will not have a treasury. So you might require someone who has to work in the treasury. So, and that means, taking calls on the market. Or you might say somebody with a legal background. So all the documentation in the law work, legal department work happens in head office. There is no such work in the ROs. So these people with specific skills and people with specific background, they are required more in head office. And if they have done very well in their interview and their written test, then they definitely get selected first.
Okay. And ma'am, once we have entered as a grade officer, so what is the scope and what is the career growth opportunity basically after grade officer in NABARD?
I think I've already told you that if you are doing consistently well, you can become chairman NABARD. No one can stop you. So you can become chairman NABARD. You can become the deputy managing director of NABARD. Nahi to, so then there is, I mean, like I said, the sky is the limit. The only thing is that NABARD rewards merit. There is a huge this thing for merits. It's a very small, like there are just 3,000 employees, 3,300 employees. So there is a huge demand for good working people, and merit is always rewarded. Uh, and yeah, so I mean, what more than chairman you hope
Ma'am,
for as a grade A officer?
ma'am
What more
still,
than chairman? So the promotions right now, because the work of NABARD is increasing, so like there is no stagnation. There are promotions. I mean, it is in some grades it is even better than the industry. So you get pretty timely promotions. Timely career opportunities are there. So, but like I said, the first thing is you have to work consistently well, and you have to prove. So, so timely promotions are there. There is nothing like stagnation.
okay, ma'am, can you tell us about the hierarchy, means how these promotions happens in NABARD?
So see, the first is the entry level. अभी entry level cross नहीं किया, पहले से ही promotion की बात कर रहे हैं, but still, since there is so much of demand, I will answer that question. So At the base levels, you see, we have a junior management, we have a middle management, and we have a senior management. So the junior management is basically A, B, C. So people are entering as grade A, so A, B, C. Then the middle management will be C, the D and E. And then you have the top management, that is CGMs or DMD chairman. That's the top management. So at each level, there will be an interview process, a selection process, but interview process is only a face-to-face. Otherwise, there is a 360-degree feedback mechanism. There is a very well-defined performance appraisal, which means that at the beginning of the year, you state what are the key KRIs, right? In HR terms, we call them KRIs. So that is decided, and in the beginning of the year, it is sort of fixed that if I'm an appraisal, say I'm in the business department, these many proposals I will do, and this is going to be my TAT, and this is how many customers I'm going to talk to, or whatever. So that will be your KRAs, right? And then at the end of the year, you will first say, that these were my KRAs and this is how I have done actually against standard industry procedure. And then you have various levels of valuation. So you have somebody who you're reporting to who writes your PR, and then there's a committee system which actually evaluates and then finalizes the marks. So the selection is basis what you have done in the last 2 or 3 years plus the interview. So it's a very, very intensive system of selection, and a lot of thought is given to the selection process. So while a person may be interested in his promotion, the organization is also looking to pull people up who are doing very well. So merit is the first and foremost criteria for promotion. So if you've done well throughout the year, if you've done well continuously over a period of 3 to 4 years, and if you've done well in the interview also, then you have an absolutely good chance of getting promoted to the next higher grade. And yes, it is right now it is pretty fast in our organization. So the age profile of people who are entering grade D, which is after 3 promotions, is very, very young. So you can expect a pretty good, reasonably good career growth in the organization.
Yes, ma'am. That being said, ki if we work consistently and we work dedicatedly towards the organization, so
That's
organization is going to reward us.
yes. So that's there, and we also have people. They may be very junior, but if then they have done exceedingly well, they can even supersede their seniors and get promotion. So merit is something which is hugely rewarded in the organization.
Ma'am, that's very transparent way of promoting people and transparent way of uplifting the talent. So uh, that shows that NABARD is a very good organization in itself. So, ma'am, my next question is regarding the salary and perks that NABARD is providing to their employees.
So I went through the ad, and I think page 19, para 10, in very great detail is talking about what is the salary structure, including what is the take home and what are the perquisites. I think if people have read the advertisement in great detail, I will again urge them to look at page 19. It is very, very clearly stated. Each and every pay and allowance is stated there. So there is a basic pay, then there is a dearness allowance, which is the government of India tells every quarter what is the dearness allowance that is added to the salary. And then there are various other allowances and special pays which are added to the salary. So your take home will consist of, there is a house rent allowance, there is a family allowance, there is a local allowance. All this is as per industry standards. So suffice it to say that our salaries are one of the best in the public sector, right? They're one of the best in the public sector. They're better than the commercial bank scale right now. But and the amount and all, I think I don't have a grade A officer's pay slip right now, but it is there. I will urge them to look at page 19. Then every regional office, and the regional offices are in state capitals. That by itself, imagine if you're in a commercial bank, you will end up in a rural, district headquarter, or even a rural branch. But in NABARD, you will always be in either Mumbai or in the state capitals. In a small stint, you will be in the district headquarters. That will be a small stint of 5 years when you go as a district development manager. But otherwise, 95% of the time you are in the state capital. So there we have staff quarters, and we have staff quarters which are available to us at for a very, very nominal sum. So I'm staying in a flat in Dadar, 4 bedroom. I hardly pay anything for that, but it's a 4 bedroom flat near Siddhivinayak. So that's one of the best perks. So you get to buy you get soft loans to buy a car, you get a housing loan, you get festival advance, you get all kinds of loans at very, very subsidized rates of interest. You get all kinds of, so after some point of time you will have a, say, all kinds of allowances, like you can buy a laptop, you can buy a, there's a furnishing allowance, there is a newspaper allowance, there is all kinds of allowance. So I mean, I think the sky is the limit. I mean, like I said, NABARD really takes care of its employees. You even get a Sodexo. I mean, what more do you want? You get a briefcase allowance. You get a driver's allowance. You get a petrol reimbursement. So almost all the basic needs of an officer and his or her family. So the medical expenses, the reimbursement takes care not just of the officer, but also of the family and the dependents. The LTC takes care not just of the officer, but also of the family and the dependents. So it's a very big thing. If you translate that into monetary terms, that if you compare and convert these perquisites into monetary terms, it's really, really very, very significant.
Yes, ma'am. So we can see that NABARD is a job like one can ask for. Like, matlab, NABARD is providing everything that one can ask from a job, be it the
Absolutely.
salary, be it the perks or allowances. So, ma'am, now I wanted to ask regarding the opportunities that a person can have after joining NABARD. Like, if someone want to pursue graduation or doctoral degree after NABARD, so is there any policy for such candidates?
So I will deal with this in two ways. So one is the training that NABARD itself offers. Okay. So NABARD will continuously train its people. We don't let people just once they have they've entered NABARD, so then fine. No, it's not like that. So first of all, so we have our own training college. It's called the National Bank Staff College. It is in Lucknow. So first people will get trained there, and throughout the year we have courses. So depending on where you are, which department you are posted, maybe at least once a year or maybe even more than once a year, you will get trained. Then NABARD is a system where it sends its people for training to other institutions. Like there is the National Institute of Bank Management. For senior officers, it is the IIMs, it is ISB. Then people are also sent for foreign assignments once in a while. Again, it is merit based. Okay. So these are the things which NABARD does on its own initiative. Now, if somebody were to enter NABARD and then look, say, I want to do a PhD or I want to take leave and do an MBA from NABARD, that is also allowed. So we have a very, very employee-friendly study leave scheme where certain part of the salary is frozen and a certain part of the, I think they're allowed to retain their staff quarters also so that the family can this thing. And I have a large number of friends and colleagues who have taken study leave and they've gone to IIM, they've done a PhD, or they've gone to IIM, they've completed their MBA. So that is there. Also, if you want to do certain other courses, so the NABARD will also cover the expenditure to a large extent of these courses. So like when I did my MBA, most of the fees was reimbursed by NABARD. Then so that kind of system is there. So like three types of self-development and learning. One is what NABARD does on its own accord. You will be sent for training within NABARD, outside NABARD. If you want to do a long duration course, you will get study leave and the family or you are taken care of. Part of your salary is also paid during that period, although you're not working for NABARD. So you can go out and do your studies and come back. And you will also be given reimbursement for certain specific courses that you would like to do. So there are people who have signed up for artificial intelligence and data analytics courses. People are doing FRM, that's a risk management course. People are doing all kinds of courses. So that is always there in NABARD.
So aspirants, you can see that, ma'am, some aspirants are just graduates and they feel like we should join NABARD, and sometimes they have this confusion ki whether they should go for post graduation or NABARD, because if I'll study for a year, maybe that year I could not clear, so मेरा एक साल waste हो जाएगा. So you can see that after joining NABARD also you have a great opportunity to upskill yourself as well as to pursue your degree if you want to pursue further, be it your post graduation or PhD, anything you can pursue after joining NABARD. And for that NABARD will pay, they will provide you the leaves, they will provide you the everything they can have, they can give to support you with for your aspiration. So that's a very good thing to know, ma'am. And ma'am, now I wanted to ask a query, like which many students have they have their this in their mind because interview is near. So they wanted to know what is that qualities that NABARD is seeing in the aspirants, and especially the panel who are interviewing a candidate.
Okay. So, see, that's a very valid question again. Again, if you've seen the advertisement very, very closely, so it is not just the interview which decides. So if you see, there are, so we test the technical knowledge. We also test certain soft skills. There are different ways of doing it. If you've seen, the first level was the objective test, where you had to get minimum marks in, say, general English or quant or something. And then you had to score a certain number of marks, which is the merit section, which was your agricultural and socioeconomic problems. And I think there was something else, English or whatever.
General awareness.
General awareness. So that's the first level of checking. And the marks for the merit portion, that is general awareness and agriculture, socioeconomic problems, that is what is added. So already there your rating has happened. Then you have cleared paper 2, which is the subjective part. So there we have tested something else. So this was the objective part, is how quick thinking you are, how much recall you have, how good are your mathematical and accounting skills, how good are your certain skills. So there are certain technical skills which were tested then. Then when you come to the written test, which is descriptive, it is a lot of communication. It is a very creative, we test those kind of communication. So everybody will be given, say, a problem statement, or say, what are the ills in agriculture in India today? But how you answer that question, how you're able to articulate. So that is a different kind of personality test, or a different kind of an intensive this thing that NABARD is doing. That's the second level. That's also added. Now, when it comes to the interviews basically understanding your oral communication skills. Interviews understanding your personality. Interviews understanding whether you can really articulate what is it that you have in your mind. So the interview will look at your personality. They also will test your how much of it that you've written in your biodata is actually correct. So you might say that, I might say that I was a topper in I was in economics, or I was a topper in history. So they will actually try to test whether you really have in-depth knowledge. Do you really understand your subject? So that kind of testing is done. Also, whether a candidate answers freely, frankly. Does he make eye contact? So here I will ask the students to polish their oral communication skills. There are about 36 rules for oral communication, including making eye contact, answering the question directly. Not, if you don't understand the question, please politely ask, I have not understood the question. Can you please repeat? Being very direct, don't lie. That all these qualities are tested during the interview. So for instance, if you don't know the answer as to what is the GDP or the agriculture GDP of India, please don't bluff your way. Then that goes against you. So as you can see that, with these examples, I'm trying to tell you that it is your knowledge, your technical knowledge, various skills, technical skills, conceptual skills, accounting skills, technical skills, communication skills are tested, and also in subtle ways your value systems can also get checked. Then they try to understand whether you have a rounded personality. I think all of you would have filled your forms. You would have mentioned your hobbies, right? So actually, whether they are really your hobbies, you just stated them, that is also tested. How much aware you are of your surroundings. Like you say, okay, I belong to Lucknow. Have you really stayed in Lucknow? If so, Would you know which are the important monuments in Lucknow, or why Lucknow is famous? What was the role of Lucknow in the Sepoy Mutiny of 1857? So again, this is a test to see how aware you are of the surroundings, how curious you are as a person. So it's a very, very detailed assessment over a period of 6 to 8 months of different facets of a person that ultimately help him to land a job in NABARD. And the board is the interview board is drawn from very, very senior officials. I'm not at liberty to share who all are in the interview board, but they're very, very senior people, and it is a very well represented board. So definitely the board, when you say a board, there will be quite a few members, and they have expertise in certain areas which are important to the functioning of NABARD. So maybe there can be somebody who's from a bank, there can be somebody who's from a government official, there can be somebody who's from a related field. So that kind of board will be there. Okay.
Okay, so students, you can understand from here that you have to be genuine and you have to be yourself while the interview.
Yes.
So that is going to help you, and you do not have to bluff the answers. And with that, ma'am, students also have this general query that NABARD is Agriculture and Rural Development Bank. So are graduates having agriculture background given preference during interview or during while selecting the candidates?
Uh, Not like that. See, I don't have an agricultural background. I have an MA in economics. And so it's not like there are people who've studied political science, there are people who've studied English literature. But yes, if there are people with an agricultural background, they also do well in NABARD, because my focus is agriculture and rural development. Having said that, we have civil engineers, we have people who are from IIT, we have people who are software engineers. In fact, a boy who was reporting to me had left a job in TCS and he had joined NABARD. So
Okay.
there's a person who left Deloitte and joined NABARD. Okay, so it's
So
like.
okay, thank you, ma'am. So with that, we have busted a myth basically, because students have this fear ki it might be like ki agriculture students are given preference. So you can see that people from various background can join the NABARD. So
So we
now,
have
ma'am,
a large number of CAs who have joined. So
yes,
we have a large number of CAs who have joined. So it's not like that. We have people from say electrical engineering background, computer analysts, software engineers. So all kinds of people are there.
yes. So ma'am, now there is one more doubt that I have. Like not doubt, but yeah, aspirants, true aspirants, we come to know that there are few RBI aspirants, means they prepare for RBI, but they could not clear due to some reason. And then they think, okay, now we should go for NABARD, preparing for NABARD. So what's your take on this? And do you think that for these aspirants who are aspiring to become RBI officers, so is NABARD best opportunity for them? So what's your say on this?
Okay, so actually it's not an apple to apple comparison, because RBI mostly you would be entering as grade B officer. Okay. And what I understand is most of these officers are in grade A. So that's one level below. So it's actually not an apple to apple comparison. But nevertheless, um, if people don't get into RBI and they want to come to NABARD, I think it is still a very good decision, because in most of the ways, in pay perks, in the kind of postings that we have, it is very similar to RBI. Most of our service conditions are very similar to RBI. Then, if you look at the work, we are not regulators. So, like I said, apple to apple comparison is not possible, because that's a regulator. We are an AIFI, okay? But if you look at the kind of exposure that we will get, it is definitely huge. I mean, you cannot compare with RBI. The kind of See, at the RBI, what you're doing is basically you are deciding something at a very macro level, at a very strategic level, at a very, at the economy level, money supply, regulation, looking after banks, this, that. But this is the only organization where you actually go down to the field and you're able to do things by yourself. So to that extent, if somebody has that developmental or an impact oriented view, it will be better than RBI. Pay and perks, well, mostly similar to RBI. So there also it is matching. Uh, Postings, state capitals or Bombay. So again, it's matching. So yeah, it'll not be unwise to get into NABARD if you have not gotten into RBI.
And ma'am, also you got to work at grassroots level in NABARD, and that is actual work at the ground, which you
Yes,
use, which the exposure, which kind of exposure you get in NABARD.
yes.
Ma'am, my last question to you is that what kind of social impact that one can bring while working with NABARD?
Okay. So I will give some examples, and I can see that some people have put some questions on the chat. Maybe after this, we will look at those
Yes,
questions
ma'am.
also. So social impact, like I was trying to explain. See, as a officer of NABARD, I have gone to the field across, so maybe Rajasthan, in UP, in Maharashtra, in Gujarat, in Andhra Pradesh when it was not divided, in Odisha, in Chhattisgarh, in Karnataka. So I've actually gone to the field and I've prepared projects for, let's say there is an area where the land is totally degraded, agriculture is suffering, people are migrating to urban areas. There's no drinking water. We have had huge mining companies who've come and they've destroyed they've taken away land or they've destroyed the ecology. So we work in those areas. We prepare projects which are 5 years, 7 years, long, and we help them rebuild their lives. So I can tell you that I have met women who were literally on the verge of migrating from Chhattisgarh, and after the projects, the tribal development projects that we have implemented, they have been able to build a house. They have increased their income to a few lakhs, from a few thousands to a few lakhs. The migration has stopped. When it comes to the degraded lands, the water, the wells which had dried up, there has been water recharge. Wherever the trees had been totally uprooted and nothing was growing, people are either growing 3 crops in a year or they now have orchard trees. And because of all this increase in the income, the girls have started going to school. People have started building not just their homes but also schools. There are roads which are built. So you can say that there is all round development in the rural areas. Okay. So all kinds of, so that's the biggest impact. And also, let me tell you that you must have heard of the word self-help groups.
Yes, ma'am.
So a lot of the products which are not attributed to NABARD, because NABARD is a bit shy in taking credit. Okay. So the SHG bank linkage program was actually started as a pilot by NABARD in 1983. There was a funding which was given to the Aga Khan Research Foundation. Sorry, there was an NGO in Karnataka. So we gave a grant from our research and development fund. Then when that worked with 500 SHGs, 500 SHGs, 20 women were formed into one SHG. When that became successful, we approached the government of India and RBI and said, this is a very good model. Let's bring women together. And then the largest self-help group program in the world was formed. That was in India. That was done by NABARD. So that
So
is the kind of impact that we have created. But unfortunately, then farmers, producers organizations, all of you must have been reading about FPO. That was another pilot that we did in 2010. And now you have the government talking, everyone is talking about FPOs, but that was initiated by us. You must have heard of Kisan Credit Card. That was another pilot that we did. Now everybody talks about KCC, RuPay, KCC, and all that. So many of these financial products, developmental products that you see is on everyone's, mouth, in everyone's conversation. We have developed them as pilots and then we have given them to the nation.
So it's like within your tenure, you will see the impact as well of the policies that you're making. So
Yes.
it's like a huge impact as well as, and it's quite inspiring for you. So now, ma'am, we will take the query from students, and I would request you all that if you feel like that anything is not answered, you can just put your question in the chat box. I'll be asking those queries to ma'am.
So let's start one by one. You want me to open the chat or you will read out the question to me?
Ma'am, I'll read out the question that I'll find ki, okay, this should be, answered, something
Yeah,
like that.
just you can ask because then
Yes,
I'm not
ma'am.
opening my chat box.
Okay, ma'am. Uh, so, uh, Gangadhar, we have already discussed about interview process. So we have already discussed about that. So, ma'am, there is a question from Raj Singh. He's saying, could you please shed some light on work profile of legal entry officer and how it is progresses with rank? So he wanted to ask about legal officer work profile.
You mean to say that he has a law degree?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so there is a separate law department in NABARD and legal department in NABARD, and basically they help us with all the legal documentation. So whether it is documentation for a loan or a documentation for, let's say, purchasing a building or a plot of land, or if there is a legal documentation for anything to do with the state government, or we also have a lot of foreign institutions like KFW or the World Bank or the Asian Development Bank. So all kinds of agreements, documentation. Then there's a legal audit which happens of large ticket loans. So then we have a very big HR. So all kinds of HR issues they look at. So basically their work is supporting the all the departments of the bank. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's
Uh,
but they will be mostly posted in as of now, they will be posted in Mumbai.
Thank you, ma'am. So, ma'am, next, Apurva, I think your query is answered, like what soft skills uh, and professional skill NABARD look for. So, I think we have answered that query. Ma'am, Kiran wants to know that where you did your MBA and in which field.
Okay, okay. So I did from Narsimonji because I did not take study leave. I used to go to college every day after my office. So I did from Narsimonji, which is NMIMS. It's based out of Mumbai, and I majored in finance.
Okay. So Rohit Kumar is asking that I am a graduate from agriculture. How it helps me to get NABARD grade A job? Is there anything related to agriculture in exam? So Rohit, for this, I would say ki you can refer to the videos that we have made on the on the YouTube. So there are various videos you can refer. Agriculture, you have an agriculture background, and yes, agriculture is asked in examination both in phase 1 and phase 2. So that is going to help you anyway. Uh, Ma'am, one query is regarding Raj is asking, is there any weightage to candidates with masters over fresher graduates while selection?
I don't know. I'm not in HR. I'm not in HR. So that's a question I cannot answer. It's not, I mean, in fact I will not know. That's an internal process.
Okay.
So, but
Uh,
let me also answer his question. See, there is a there is a long evaluation process, right? So there are marks for the three levels of exam that you're giving, isn't it? So you do well in your written test, the first written test, the second written test, subjective, and your interview. So I don't think in the end it will make a difference whether you are a postgraduate or a graduate when you look at the overall performance.
Ma'am, there is another question from Upasana. My question is the pay parity which is there between RBI and NABARD employees up until now. Will it stay in the future pay revision too, or there will be significant changes in future?
So how can I answer a future question today, Upasana?
Yes, Upasana.
As of now, it is there. As of now, it is there. So आगे होगा कि नहीं ये कौन बता सकता है future क्या होगा? Because that is something which only the stakeholders will decide, right? The Government of India, the board of NABARD. Yes,
Yes.
please. Yeah.
Ma'am, next question is from Shubham. He's asking, ma'am, I would like to ask you how to keep yourself motivated throughout the preparation journey. So,
Okay. Hmm. So it's just like any other exam, right? So keeping yourself motivated is see, how I motivate myself is through three V's, and that doesn't just apply to NABARD, but it applies to any exam or test that I'm going to take. So my three V's are basically first is visualization. Okay. So visualization is I first start seeing myself as a particular person. So for instance, if you are preparing for the NABARD grade exam, you see yourself, you visualize yourself already as that you have entered in NABARD, you are sitting in NABARD, you are so and so AM NABARD. Okay, so that's the first of the three V's, visualization. Let me tell you, it really works. All of you must have heard of the what do you call mood boards, vision boards. Right, correct. So it's like creating a vision board for yourself. So you first visualize yourself as an officer in NABARD. The second thing is virtualization. You have to tell your aloud that I am going to work in NABARD. So what I used to do is when I'm preparing for the MBA exam or something I'm preparing, So I will write to myself, I am going to do this. You tell your family members, I am going to join NABARD. So that is the vocalization. And the third, which is equally important, I visualize, I keep dreaming I'm going to join NABARD. I tell everyone I'm going to join NABARD. The third is virtualization. Please work hard. So the three V's are actually the key to getting success, not just in entering NABARD, but throughout your life, whatever exam you take. If you remember this visualization, vocalization, and virtualization, I'm sure you'll be able to clear everything. And the second thing for motivation is, basically you have to break your goals into, smaller and smaller bits. If there is a course that you have to complete before a certain day, I tell you that you should look at it like a marathon or like a relay race. You break it up into smaller goals. And when you achieve each of those smaller goals, then, the end goal will be very clearly in sight. So I think this is what I can say. Otherwise, I'm not an HR expert.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Ma'am, next question is regarding work-life balance in NABARD. So I think this is the query that we should have addressed earlier, but yeah.
Yes, yes. No, so work-life balance is fantastic. So there's a 5-day week, right? So you have Saturdays and Sundays off. Plus you have public holidays. Okay. Plus you get 15 days of casual leave in a year. You get 33 days of earned leave in a year. Plus you get the sick leave, which is on the basis of actual sickness. So where will you get so much of leave? You will get bored after some time. So there is enough. Then we have a lot of communities in the bank. We have associations, we have a sports club in every center. There are sports facilities, there are gyms, not just in the offices, but also in the residences. So you have a first class gym. So most people after office or on Saturdays, Sundays, they end up in the gym. There are picnics which are organized, there are exposure visits which are organized. All festivals are celebrated in the communities. So there are even in Bombay, you even have the contract buses. Any of you are from Bombay, so at 5:15 or 5:30, you sit in a bus and aram say you reach home. In which organization will you have something like this? So there's a lot of community feeling. There's a lot of bonding that is there. There's a lot of work-life balance. Once in a year, we have an all India sports and cultural meet where people gather in one place, and there are friendly matches and tournaments between the various regional offices. So I think it's on the whole, it's very well balanced.
So students, you can see that NABARD is providing you everything, be it your work or be it your life, it is everything balanced. It is going everything balanced. So next query is from Roman. He's asking, if I join NABARD and later got selected for another job, then can I leave the NABARD? Means I think Shayad this is regarding employment bond. Is there any bond or
Yeah,
something like
like
that?
any other, like all institutions, particularly in the public sector, there will be an employment bond, which is up to a certain period of time, but that bond does get transferred. So if you fill the bond in NABARD, which is valid up to a certain number of years, then beyond that bond doesn't work. Okay, so up to when you're in that bond period, and if you join, let's say, a central government or a state government job, or let's say you're joining the RBI or joining the civil services or maybe the provincial civil services, then the bond gets transferred. So suppose for you work for, say, a certain number of years in NABARD and then you transfer, so the balance, the residual part of that bond will get transferred. And I think this is an industry practice which is there in all organizations. So I don't think you should be worried about that.
Ma'am, okay, Anandi, so you are asking whether experienced person will get preference. So ma'am has already answered that she's not HR right now, so she cannot answer such
No,
questions for
no,
now.
experienced person. That is what I'm saying. So,
Okay.
so that is a okay. Let me answer it in a different way. You say you have 5 years experience in a bank, okay? But we will test that. We will not take anything at face value. So, if you have 5 years experience in a particular bank, then if there are any questions on that area, you will have answered better. Also, in the interview, that will be tested, right? So if you have that experience and you can answer those questions in the interview, so then definitely preference is there. So it is not, the selection process is not like straight jacketed. It is not a one size fits all. It all depends on your performance across various kinds of tests. So whether there's an MCQ, how well you do there, whether there is a subjective test, how will you do there. So if you're experienced, you will be definitely able to put that experience when you write your answers as compared to somebody who's straight out of college, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, next question is regarding Saurabh is asking, since last past 2 year, agriculture specific post is not coming in NABARD. So, ma'am, he wanted to know why that is happening, and also I wanted to ask you like how these posts are released. Means the vacancy that we see for journalist and specialist post, how they are released.
So, see, I can't answer why they're not coming in the last 2 years because, like I said, these are all internal policies. But generally, I can explain to you that the bank, from time to time, it revises its HR requirements. How does the HR work in any bank, not just NABARD, in RBI or say Bank of India or Bank of Baroda, SBI? So depending, suppose tomorrow I want to open, say, a department which requires civil engineers. So definitely my next recruitment will have a higher requirement of civil engineers. So depending on what is the bank's strategy, where it wants to grow, which are the departments where the growth is required in the next 5 years or the next 10 years, or wherever we feel that a lot of people, so there is an attrition in NABARD also. Now, if we feel that there are people who have left NABARD or people have retired, and suddenly I need more agriculture people, or I need more forestry people, or I need people with economics, or I need more CAs. So then accordingly, that particular year, the vacancies will go up, right? So it's a continuous process of assessing what is your HR, and within that HR, which kind of specialization you need at a particular point of time.
Okay. So, ma'am, Bharat is asking, is there any sports facility for grade A officers?
I just said you have all kinds of sports facilities other than the gym. You have a sports club, and you have something like in the office premises itself, you will have a sports room with some indoor sports facility. Then there are people who join clubs after office. You have sports facilities in the residential quarters. So yes, definitely. So right from table tennis to badminton to carom to whatever, it's there.
Ma'am, there is a query regarding ki where do a NABARD grade A officer get its his or her first posting? Like he wanted to ask, ki, is it in the metro city or in a rural area?
So
So,
I told her the first posting will always be either in Bombay or in a state capital. So you will be in any of the state capitals in India or in head office. So this will be your first posting. So if maybe you'll be in Lucknow or Delhi or Chandigarh or Jaipur or Hyderabad or Trivandrum or Chennai, like that, or in Mumbai. So you will
ma'am,
not be posted in a district in the first posting.
okay. Ma'am, so throughout your tenure, do we have any rural posting, any rural exposure?
So yeah, most of the people will. So see, the rural exposure is in two ways. So during your tenure, like I have been in rural areas, like I will go on a say a short assignment or a 1 week assignment or a 1 day assignment. That is the kind of exposure which I can have while even being in Bombay or in Lucknow. Other than that, there will be a short tenure where you will be posted in a headquarter of a district. uh, Majority of the people get posted there, not everyone. Um, but it is very useful because that helps you go up the ladder. People who have done that because they have seen the actual functioning of NABARD as the grassroots. So, for instance, and you're dealing with the district level organization. For instance, you're sitting next to the collector, sitting next to the LDM. You're the actually the one man army in the district who is implementing all the NABARD schemes. So, and I have been a district officer also. So it is again something which is very, very enriching, but that is a very short stint in the entire career. But otherwise, you're always in a state capital or in head office Mumbai.
Okay, so ma'am, next question is from Vishali. She's asking, can NABARD officer get transferred to subsidiaries of NABARD and transfer policy remain the same as NABARD, such as someone interested into social work can get into NAB Foundation and transfer remains same or not as NABARD? I think she's trying to
Yeah.
ask
What is
how.
so deputation? So
Yes.
I was managing director of one of the subsidiaries of NABARD, NAB Samriddhi Finance Limited. So there is always a scope to get posted in one of the subsidiaries of NABARD, whether it is a financial subsidy or NAB Foundation or whatever. But it is a deputation. So you will go for a period of 2, 3, 5 years, depending on whatever is the requirement, and then you get repatriated back to NABARD. And so you can, again, these postings are not rural areas, so but you will get exposure in rural areas. So you will be either posted in Bombay, or you'll be posted in Delhi, or you'll be posted in one of the state capitals in the subsidiary. So subsidiaries also have their offices across India, and then you can go and do the field work. But yes, subsidiary work is also very, very interesting.
Okay, ma'am, Yash is asking, ma'am, does same interview panel interviews all the aspirants of different posts? Means he wanted to ask that is panel same for all different posts, like for journalist also for
Uh,
specialist post, is the panel same or different?
I cannot answer that question.
Okay.
I cannot answer that question. These are very specific questions. I think, we cannot, they
Okay,
have
ma'am.
certain limitations.
uh
But let me tell you, when there is a board, everyone will have certain specializations, right? If there are 3 people in a board or 5 people in a board, there will be someone who will know your specialization. So the board is chosen with great care. So it's just like this. If you apply for the civil services, or you apply, and in civil services mein kya hota hai? Somebody goes as a foreign officer, somebody goes into tax, somebody goes into customs, somebody goes into this thing, but you have the same board, right? You have 5 or 7 people, you have the same board, but they will definitely test you. So the board people are so qualified and experienced. They're doing this all for a long time. So they know exactly what questions to ask, what to draw out from the candidate.
okay, ma'am, there is a query from Rutvij. Ma'am, as a IT specialist post have increased, and what are the expectations from the IT candidate? What will be the job profile like? So he wanted to know about IT candidate job
Yeah.
profile.
So there is a large amount of digitalization, building of technology platforms that is happening in NABARD. And there is this huge push which has happened in the last 2 years. So we have a core banking system. I'm implementing an enterprise risk management software. I'm implementing the treasury and the ALM software. Then we have a data warehouse which is being built. We have various platforms. So there are certain platforms which are for the bank that we have built, and then there are certain platforms which we are building for our clients, like the PAX computerization program. So you can say across NABARD there is requirement for IT specialists. So you can get posted to any of these departments. It involves basically understanding the business processes, the business requirements, then understanding what is the kind of software that needs to be either purchased from the market, or which needs to be customized or built, and then being part of the RFP, where we get the vendors, somebody like a TCS or a Wipro or somebody else, who will come and build that platform or that software for us. So the entire end-to-end work is why we require IT specialists. I hope that answers the question.
Yes, ma'am. I think you have given a
And
general
I'm not an IT
overview.
person. Yeah, I'm
Yes,
not an IT person, but yes, I'm implementing a lot of IT projects. Yeah.
yes, ma'am. Next question is from Upasna. What can be some good departments to work in for a botanical science graduate? So,
Botanical science graduate. Okay, so it can be, there are certain developmental departments in NABARD, like the farm sector developmental department, or there's a storage and marketing department. The regional offices where we prepare certain model projects on agriculture or related areas. So there will be quite a few areas where you can work.
okay. Ma'am, there is a query of Abhik. He's trying to ask, can you give a summary of all the features that NABARD offers that make it different from other such government institutes? Institutes.
Shall I tell you something in jest? This is a very serious conversation. ऐसा लग रहा है जैसे मेरा इंटरव्यू हो रहा है. So,
Ma'am, aspirants are so, they are, उनके अंदर बहुत कुछ है पूछने के लिए. They wanted to
yeah.
ask everything.
Yeah,
Means,
so just please repeat Abhik's question. What did he say? He said in a nutshell or capsule, something I lost after that. Yeah.
yes, ma'am, you have, he's just asking ki what is the different in, that is different in NABARD from other government institutions, like same government institutions.
Okay. So, see, firstly, we are 100% owned by the government. Okay. Having said that, there is a lot of independence of thinking. We are not just a government department. So there's a lot of independence in thinking and in the way we are functioning, which is why the government has a lot of faith in us. If you remember, I told you when I was in Chhattisgarh as a regional office in charge some time back, and I was on the stage. The Speaker of the Assembly openly says that, I trust NABARD because NABARD is the only honest organization जो बिना पैसे लिए काम करती है. For me, that's I think the biggest USP of NABARD, right? Having said that, if I can stretch the point a bit, NABARD is the only organization for which the vision is also to do CSR. कौन सी organization अपना सारा profit CSR में लगाती है? So we are in every field in rural areas, whether it is building a road. And let me tell you, we have seen the state government roads and we have seen the roads which are funded from NABARD. If you go to rural areas, you will find that it is only the projects of NABARD or the roads of NABARD which are standing despite the monsoons. बाकी स्टेट गवर्नमेंट या डिस्ट्रिक्ट एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन के रोड्स को हर साल बनाना पड़ता है. हमारे प्रोजेक्ट जो है खड़े रहते हैं. Third thing, in many of the projects, when the state governments have to show similar projects, instead of showing theirs, they will bring the World Bank officials or Delhi officials and show our projects as if they are theirs. So that's the quality. So it's the quality, it is the commitment. We have certain NGOs where I used to tell them, ki, Arey, why are you only dependent on projects with NABARD? Why don't you go to the state government? They said, no, we want to work only with NABARD because everything is so transparent and you give us respect and you understand, you have that understanding of rural areas, which is not there with state governments. You don't ask for anything. You come to rural areas and you are only helping us. You don't ask for anything. You have no expectations. Whereas there are hundreds of expectations from other stakeholders, which we are forced to meet. Therefore, I would like to work only with NABARD. So I don't know, I can go on, but I think I have been able to clarify with a few examples as to what
Yes, ma'am. You have just given the gist ki why NABARD is different and the quality of work that NABARD do that reflects. Okay, so
Also, one more thing, even internationally, we are known. So, whichever developmental institution comes and routes its funds through the Indian government, NABARD is the only implementing entity. So, as you know, climate change is a very big thing. We have been doing a lot of projects which are from the Green Climate Fund, Adaptation Fund Board, which are all international organizations. Do you know NABARD is the only implementing entity in India for these? Only implementing entity in India for these, even for the foreign funds. So that's the kind of respect NABARD has nationally, internationally. Yeah.
okay. So, ma'am, I think we have answered all the queries. Rest were the general queries that I think students can refer to the YouTube videos and they can get their queries answered from there. So that was all for this interview, ma'am. Thank you so much for joining and thank you so much for enlightening us with your words and thank you so much for sharing all the things.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. It's always nice to connect with young people. So I'm wishing everyone all the very best. Do well and chalo, all the best.
Thank you so much, ma'am, and all the aspirants. Thank you so much for joining us
Someone
here.
is asking again and again, please reply. I don't know what he wants. Some Kiran, somebody is there. He's asking a question. He's saying, please reply, please reply. What is his question?
Ma'am, he's asking, ma'am, if someone has interest in blogging, will it be prohibited after joining NABARD as an officer or so? Yes, ma'am. So I think
But I have to
uh,
read the service rules now.
yes, ma'am. So I
See, I
think
can tell you something. See, there are certain HR rules which are there in every organization. I cannot tell you what are they staff rules, because there's a bond you sign every time. But basically, as long as you're not doing anything which is contrary to the interest of NABARD, as long as you don't say anything which hurts the interest of NABARD, I don't think you will have any problem. I'm giving a very general answer, but you can pursue your hobbies as long as um, either it is affecting the business of NABARD, affecting the interest of NABARD, it is contrary to the interest of NABARD, it is in conflict with the interest of NABARD. As long as it is not that, I think you can do it, but specifically you'll have to find out because I'll have to go through the nitty-gritties of the policy.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
So
you cannot hold any other public office. You cannot have any office of profit. So if you're going to make money out of any this thing, then NABARD might ask a few questions. Maybe you need permission. So if you're just vlogging for the heck of your hobby, then I think there should not be a problem. But if you're making money out of it, then you have to declare. Yeah.
okay, so I think that query has been
Kanak Mishra also says, please reply. Oh,
uh, ma'am, Kanak is asking, ma'am, you prepared during your post graduation? If yes, then how you manage your preparation while pursuing MA Economics?
No, so I was in MA Economics when I joined NABARD, but I did my MBA. So I did it along with my work. I did not take leave also because I was again managing a very important project. But then you have to put in that extra work, extra this thing. So like I said, almost a large number of people they add to their qualifications after joining NABARD. So it is possible. There are people who've done CFA after joining NABARD, and let me tell you, it is even more difficult than doing an MA Economics. To do a CFA is very, very difficult. To do an FRM is very, very difficult. But there are people all the time who are doing MBAs, CFAs, CRM. So some people manage through weekend classes. Some people managed by staying awake at night. I stayed awake at night for 3 years. So it depends on your motivation level and your passion. But yes, NABARD doesn't come in the way.
Yes, and ultimately you have to work out your way if you want to achieve something. So, so that was all, ma'am, for this interview. Thank you so much for joining, and I think we have answered all the relevant queries. So, thank you so much, ma'am, for joining, and all the aspirants. Thank you so much. So that
Thank
was all. That was
thank
all, ma'am.
So I'll leave right now. Thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am.
And
Thank you, ma'am.